Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Not because you've given up, but because you finally trust the timing of your life. Good things are coming, but only if you stop rushing what's meant to unfold naturally. We live in a world that worships speed, but forgets the beauty of divine timing. Today, I want to remind you, your delay is not your denial. Trust the timing. Those three words can change the entire direction of your life if you truly understand them. So many people spend years chasing what's already on its way to them. They push, they panic, they try to make things happen before their season, and when it doesn't go their way, they feel forgotten or left behind. But what if the delay isn't a punishment? What if it's preparation? Sometimes, life hides your blessing until you're strong enough, mature enough, and wise enough to handle it. Timing isn't something you can control, it's something you must learn to align with. Think about nature. A seed doesn't sprout the same day it's planted. It spends days, weeks, sometimes months beneath the soil, unseen, unnoticed, uncelebrated. But underground, roots are forming. It's getting stronger, more stable, more prepared to rise. If someone dug it up too soon, it would never bloom. You're the same way. You're growing roots in seasons of silence. You're being developed in the dark before you're displayed in the light. That's why trusting the timing isn't passive, it's powerful. It means you're choosing peace over panic. It means you believe that what's meant for you won't pass you by. When you rush, you break alignment with what's destined. You start making emotional decisions, forcing connections, chasing validation, and exhausting yourself trying to control what's beyond you. But when you trust the timing, you slow down enough to listen to yourself, to God, to life. You begin to see signs you used to ignore, doors you didn't notice, opportunities that align perfectly because you're finally moving in rhythm with your purpose. Trusting timing is not about waiting forever, it's about waiting with faith, not frustration. Every delay you're experiencing is shaping something within you. Maybe you're not ready for what you've been praying for. Maybe what you want needs to be refined before it arrives. Maybe the lesson is not in the getting, but in the growing. The universe has perfect timing. It never shows up early, and it's never truly late. You just have to stay patient enough to see it unfold. Good things take time, great things take faith, and divine things take surrender. So when you feel like nothing's moving, remind yourself, the seed underground isn't dead, it's developing. Your story isn't over, it's being written in silence. Don't rush the masterpiece by trying to skip the process. The best chapters of your life will reveal themselves when you finally trust that where you are right now is exactly where you're meant to be. Learn to wait wisely, because waiting is not about doing nothing. It's about doing the right things while trusting the unseen. Every season of waiting has a purpose, but most people waste it by complaining, comparing, or doubting. Waiting wisely means using that in between time to strengthen your character, deepen your faith, and prepare your spirit for what's coming next. It's easy to be patient when you can see progress, but true patience is built when nothing seems to be happening at all. That's when your mindset, discipline, and trust are tested. Waiting wisely is understanding that God's not yet is not the same as no. It's a divine pause meant to protect you, to grow you, and to align the pieces you cannot see. When you wait with wisdom, you stop trying to chase every opportunity that flashes in front of you and start focusing on becoming the person who will thrive when the right one finally arrives. Many people receive blessings they're not ready for, and those blessings end up breaking them because they didn't build the strength or maturity to hold them. That's why the waiting period is sacred. It's the classroom of life. It's where you learn humility, patience, gratitude, and discernment. Every great story has a waiting chapter. David was anointed long before he became king. Joseph dreamed of greatness long before he was delivered from prison. Even the butterfly spends time in the cocoon, hidden, silent, unseen. But what happens inside the cocoon is transformation, not stagnation. That's what waiting wisely looks like. It's a transformation of your inner world while the outer world remains still. It's you learning to pray instead of panic, to prepare instead of procrastinate, to grow instead of grumble. Waiting wisely means you don't waste time worrying about when it will happen. You focus instead on who you are becoming while it doesn't. You read, you learn, you improve your craft, you heal your wounds, you build your inner peace. Because when the door finally opens, it's not just about stepping into the opportunity, it's about stepping into it ready. The unwise wait with frustration, but the wise wait with focus. They use silence as a signal to grow stronger. They use disappointment as motivation to rise higher. Every delay you face can either be your excuse or your education. The choice is yours. When you learn to wait wisely, you realize that the pause is never empty. It's filled with purpose you may not yet understand. Sometimes God withholds certain things not to punish you, but to prepare you. He's still aligning people, timing, and circumstances behind the scenes. Your job is not to rush Him, but to ready yourself. So instead of saying, "Why is this taking so long?" start saying, "What can I learn while I wait?" That question alone changes everything. Patience isn't the ability to sit still, it's the ability to stay positive and purposeful while you wait. So keep working, keep believing, and keep your heart open. Because the moment you learn to wait wisely, the waiting no longer feels like a burden. It becomes the bridge that leads you to everything you've been preparing for. Detach from control, because the moment you stop trying to control everything, you finally start to breathe again. So many of us spend our lives gripping tightly to things we were never meant to manage: people, plans, outcomes, timelines. We think that if we just try harder, push stronger, plan smarter, we can make life bend to our will. But the truth is, control is an illusion. You can plan your steps, but you cannot command the wind. You can plant the seed, but you cannot dictate the rain. The obsession with control is what exhausts the soul and steals peace from the present moment. Real power begins not when you take control, but when you learn to release it. Detachment isn't giving up, it's giving over. It's surrendering the illusion that you are the ultimate architect of everything in your life. It's saying, I trust that what's meant for me will find me, and what's not meant for me will leave. No matter how hard I hold on, that's not weakness, that's wisdom, because life flows best when you stop fighting the current. Trying to control every detail is like clenching your fists while trying to catch water. The tighter you hold, the less you have. But when you open your hands, life begins to fill them again. When you detach from control, you stop chasing people who were never meant to stay. You stop forcing answers from a silent universe. You stop stressing over closed doors because you understand that not every door is yours to open. You begin to live with trust. Trust that what's leaving your life is creating space for something better. Trust that rejection is redirection. And trust that the path will reveal itself when you're ready to walk it. The need to control is often born from fear of uncertainty, fear of loss, fear of failure. But what if those fears are the very things blocking your blessings? When you let go, you allow divine timing to take its course. You make space for alignment, not anxiety. There's beauty in learning to let things unfold without your constant interference. When you stop micromanaging life, you start noticing the small signs of grace, the coincidences, the timing, the people who appear exactly when you need them. You begin to live in rhythm with something greater than yourself. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You still love deeply, but without desperation. You still dream big, but without forcing outcomes. You still work hard, but without anxiety about results. You show up fully, and then you let life do its part. Sometimes you'll feel the urge to control because uncertainty is uncomfortable. But control doesn't create safety. Surrender does. You don't have to know how everything will work out. You just have to believe that it will. The universe always fills the spaces you release. When you stop forcing what's fading, the right things find their way in effortlessly. That's the quiet power of detachment. It's not the absence of desire, it's the presence of peace. It's saying, I will do my best, and I will trust the rest. So release your grip, breathe, step back, and remember that not everything requires your hand, your worry, or your plan. The things that are truly meant for you will not require constant chasing. They will stay, they will grow, they will unfold naturally. Detachment is not about losing control of your life. It's about gaining control of your inner peace. When you stop trying to force outcomes, you finally open yourself to receive blessings that flow freely, not fearfully. That's when you realize that peace was never found in control. It was always found in surrender. Grow in the pause, because the moments when nothing seems to be happening are often the moments when everything is being shaped. Life isn't always about movement, noise, or visible progress. Sometimes the most powerful transformation happens in silence, in waiting in the unseen spaces between where you were and where you're going. The pause isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's where you're stretched, refined, and strengthened without an audience. Everyone wants the breakthrough, but very few want the stillness that builds it. Growth in the pause is what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise with purpose. When everything slows down, your first instinct might be to panic, to assume something's wrong, or that you're falling behind. But what if the pause is God's way of saying, be still. I'm working behind the scenes. You can't see roots growing beneath the soil, but they're what hold the tree upright when the storm comes. You can't see muscles strengthening, while you rest between workouts. But that recovery is what makes you stronger the next time. In the same way, your soul needs those pauses, times of rest, reflection, and redirection, because constant movement without meaning only leads to burnout. When you learn to grow in the pause, you begin to see the beauty in the quiet. You start to listen to yourself, to hear what your heart's been trying to tell you. You begin to let go of the noise of comparison and the rush of expectation. You start nurturing your spirit, healing your wounds, and rebuilding your strength. Growth in the pause is subtle. No one applauds you for it. No one sees you journaling through your pain, learning patience, or rediscovering your worth. But that invisible growth is what prepares you for visible success later. It's what ensures that when your moment comes, you can handle it with wisdom and humility. Every pause has a purpose. Sometimes it's to protect you from moving too fast in the wrong direction. Sometimes it's to teach you that your value isn't in your productivity. And sometimes it's simply to remind you that you are not in control of every timeline. We live in a culture that glorifies hustle, speed, and constant doing. But growth doesn't always require movement. Sometimes it requires stillness. The seed doesn't fight the soil. It stays, it waits, it absorbs, and it grows when the season changes. In the same way, when you stop resisting the pauses in your life, you begin to receive their lessons. The pause teaches patience. It humbles your pride. It invites you to rest, to reconnect with yourself, to pray, to realign your vision. It strips away distractions and shows you what truly matters. It's during the quiet seasons that you rediscover your strength, because silence forces you to hear your own voice again. You realize that progress is not always visible. Sometimes it's emotional, mental, or spiritual. It's how you respond in those still moments that determines who you'll become when life speeds up again. So don't despise the pauses. Embrace them. When doors close, when plans stall, when answers don't come, see it as a divine invitation to pause, reflect, and grow. Maybe it's time to heal something within you before the next chapter begins. Maybe it's time to rest your spirit before the next climb. Growth in the pause is sacred. It's the quiet shaping of your soul before the noise of success returns. When you finally learn to grow in the pause, you stop asking, "When will this end?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That single shift changes everything. Because when you grow in silence, you emerge stronger, wiser, and more grounded. And when life begins to move again, you'll realize that the pause wasn't a delay. It was the very foundation of your transformation. Replace anxiety with faith, because no matter how much you worry, you can't control the future, but faith can change how you face it. Anxiety thrives in uncertainty. It feeds on the fear of what if, on the unknown paths ahead of you. It makes you feel like you must figure everything out right now, that you must have every answer, every plan, every guarantee. But faith whispers something softer, something wiser. You don't need to know how, you just need to trust who. Anxiety tries to convince you that everything will fall apart. Faith reminds you that even if it does, you will rise again. The difference between anxiety and faith isn't circumstance, it's perspective. Anxiety makes you rush, while faith teaches you to rest. Anxiety builds walls of fear, while faith builds bridges of hope. When you're anxious, you rehearse your problems over and over, as if replaying them will make them smaller, but it only makes them heavier. When you walk in faith, you release what you can't control and focus on what you can. Your attitude, your effort, your mindset, your heart. Faith doesn't mean everything will happen the way you want it to. It means you believe that whatever happens, you will be okay. That kind of trust brings peace that no plan can promise. There comes a point in life when you must decide which voice you listen to, the loud one of fear or the quiet one of faith. Anxiety yells that you're running out of time, that you'll miss your chance, that everyone else is ahead of you. Faith reminds you that nothing meant for you will ever pass you by. Anxiety focuses on everything that could go wrong. Faith focuses on everything that could go right, and even if it doesn't, it believes there's still purpose in the pain. Faith isn't naive, it's not ignoring reality, it's acknowledging reality through the lens of trust. It's saying, even though I don't understand, I know this season is shaping me for something greater. When you choose faith over anxiety, your energy shifts. You stop trying to control every outcome, and you start aligning yourself with peace. You begin to see how every delay, every disappointment, every detour is guiding you somewhere better. Anxiety narrows your vision until all you see is the problem. Faith expands it until you start noticing possibilities again. Faith doesn't always change your situation instantly, but it changes you, and that change is what prepares you to handle whatever comes next. The truth is, anxiety will always try to visit. It's part of being human. But you don't have to let it move in. You can learn to quiet it by grounding yourself in faith. Every time you start to worry, pause and remind yourself, I've been through storms before and I survived. I'm still standing. You faced uncertainty before and you found your way through it. That memory is proof that faith works. The same strength that carried you before will carry you again. Faith is not about pretending that everything is perfect. It's about trusting that even when it's not, there's a plan unfolding beyond your understanding. It's choosing to believe that the waiting, the confusion, and the heartbreak are not wasted. They are molding you into the person who will handle the blessing that's coming. When you live with that kind of faith, you start walking lighter, you sleep better, you stop chasing what's uncertain and start embracing what's eternal. So when anxiety comes knocking, don't open the door, breathe, pray, speak peace over your mind, remind yourself that what's meant for you is already in motion. You don't have to force it. You just have to flow with it. Replace every anxious thought with a faithful one. Instead of, what if I fail? Say, what if this teaches me something? What if I lose? Say, what if I grow? Instead of, what if doesn't happen? Say, what is Sanfrida does? As that is how faith rewires your mind and reclaims and moves and left and reclaims your peace. At the end of the day, faith doesn't remove challenges, but it transforms how you walk through them. It gives you calm in chaos, strength in weakness, and hope in uncertainty. You realize that you don't need to see the whole path. You just need to take the next step, trusting that every step guided by faith will lead you exactly where you're meant to be. Redefine success, because for too long, We've been told that success is measured by speed, status, and how high you can climb before anyone else does. We've been programmed to believe that success means constant motion, constant achievement, constant applause. But that version of success leaves people exhausted, empty, and endlessly comparing themselves to others. True success isn't about how fast you get there, it's about how deeply you grow along the way. It's about becoming, not just achieving. It's about peace, purpose, and fulfillment that no external reward can give. You can win every trophy, own every luxury, gain every follower, and still feel like something's missing. Because success, when built on comparison and competition, never satisfies. There's always someone richer, faster, younger, or more visible. But when you redefine success on your own terms, you stop chasing what society celebrates and start creating a life that your soul recognizes as meaningful. Success might not be loud, it might not be glamorous. It could simply mean waking up with peace in your heart, doing what you love, and going to bed grateful for another day of purpose. That's the kind of success that lasts, the kind that doesn't disappear when applause fades. When you slow down enough to redefine success, you begin to realize that it's not about reaching the destination first, it's about arriving whole. Too many people lose themselves on the journey. They sacrifice their health, their relationships, and their joy just to prove they're doing well. But what's the point of climbing to the top if you lose your soul on the way up? Real success isn't found in the spotlight. It's found in integrity, in inner peace, in doing what's right when no one's watching. It's living in alignment with your values, even when the world tempts you to compromise. Success is not about numbers, it's about impact. It's not about the size of your house, it's about the warmth within it. It's not about how many people know your name, it's about how many lives you've touched. When you redefine success, you free yourself from the endless race of comparison. You stop measuring your worth by external milestones and start measuring it by internal growth. Every lesson learned, every challenge overcome, every time you choose kindness over ego, that's success. Every time you get back up after falling, every time you forgive when you could hold grudges, every time you grow when you could have quit, that's real success. Redefining success also means giving yourself permission to evolve. Maybe what once mattered to you no longer does, and that's okay. Success in one season might look different in another. There's no single definition that fits all. For one person, it might be building a business. For another, it might be raising a loving family or healing from pain that once seemed unbearable. Success isn't linear, it's personal. It's finding what brings you alive and having the courage to follow it, even if no one else understands. Sometimes, success looks like rest because you're finally honoring your body. Sometimes it looks like saying no because you're protecting your peace. Sometimes it looks like starting over because you've realized your worth isn't tied to your past. Success is when you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. It's when you can look in the mirror and say, I'm proud of who I'm becoming, even if no one else claps for you. The moment you redefine success, your whole life starts to shift. You stop living by deadlines and start living by design. You stop chasing validation and start valuing authenticity. You stop feeling behind because you understand that your journey can't be compared to anyone else's. You're not late, you're living in divine timing. When you live by that truth, you realize that success isn't something to chase, it's something to live. So take a deep breath and let go of the pressure to prove yourself. You don't need to arrive faster, you just need to arrive truer. You don't need to have it all figured out, you just need to stay faithful, consistent, and aligned. Success isn't the applause of others, it's the quiet knowing within you that you're walking the right path, becoming the best version of yourself, and doing it with grace, humility, and peace. That's the kind of success that no one can take away. Focus on becoming, not arriving, because life is not a race to the finish line. It's a journey of transformation. Too often we get caught up in the obsession of arriving at success, at happiness, at love, and recognition. And in that pursuit, we forget that the real beauty lies in who we are becoming along the way. Everyone wants the outcome, but few want the process. Everyone wants the reward, but not everyone is willing to embrace the refining. Becoming is not glamorous, it's messy, uncomfortable, and full of moments that test your strength and patience. But that's where the real growth happens, not when you finally arrive somewhere, but while you're walking through the becoming. When you focus only on arriving, you attach your worth to a destination. You start to believe that you'll only be enough once you reach that point. Once you get the job, the relationship, the recognition, the dream. But when you live like that, peace is always one step away. You never feel complete because there's always another goal, another finish line, another someday. But when you shift your focus to becoming, you find fulfillment in the present. You realize that every challenge, every delay, every heartbreak is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. It's not just about getting to your dream. It's about becoming the kind of person who can sustain it. Becoming teaches patience, humility, and gratitude. It teaches you to appreciate slow growth, to value lessons over shortcuts. Arriving might give you a moment of satisfaction, but becoming gives you a lifetime of substance. The process of becoming requires you to let go of who you were, and that's not easy. It means shedding old beliefs, breaking toxic patterns, and facing parts of yourself that you've tried to avoid. It's uncomfortable because growth always stretches you. But every time you choose to grow instead of giving up, you move closer to your truest self. Think about it. A flower doesn't rush to bloom, it grows through seasons. The seed doesn't skip the soil because it wants sunlight faster. It stays, it endures, it transforms in the dark before the beauty shows. That's the same with you. You may not see the results yet, but you're growing beneath the surface. Every setback, every delay, every disappointment is part of your becoming. The lessons you learn now will be the wisdom that sustains you later. Don't despise your process, honor it, because it's shaping the foundation that your future will stand on. When you stop chasing the finish line and start embracing the journey, you find joy in places you once overlooked. You start valuing progress over perfection. You stop comparing your timeline to others because you realize your story is unfolding in its own sacred rhythm. You stop trying to prove something to the world and start proving something to yourself, that you can be consistent, resilient, and patient. Becoming means learning to celebrate small victories, to find meaning in the mundane, to love yourself in every phase, not just when you've made it. The truth is, no one ever really arrives. Every destination is just the beginning of another becoming. You'll reach one goal and then dream of another. You'll grow into one version of yourself and then feel called to evolve again. Life isn't about reaching a final point. It's about continually expanding, learning, and awakening to deeper truths about who you are. The more you grow, the more you realize that the journey was never about what you could achieve, but about who you could become. So stop rushing to arrive. You are not behind, you are becoming. You are unfolding exactly as you should. The pain, the waiting, the uncertainty, they're all sculpting you into someone capable of holding the life you've been praying for. Every season, even the hard ones, is doing sacred work in your soul. When you live with that awareness, you stop feeling anxious about where you're going and start feeling grateful for where you are. The destination will come, but let it meet a version of you that's ready, grounded, and whole. Because arriving too soon can break you, but becoming prepares you. It gives you roots deep enough to handle the storms and wings strong enough to fly when the time comes. So let go of the pressure to arrive. Instead, fall in love with the person you're becoming, because that's where the real success, peace, and fulfillment live. Let go of comparisons, because the moment you measure your journey against someone else's, you begin to lose sight of your own purpose. Comparison is the silent thief of joy. It convinces you that you're behind, that you're not enough, that your path is somehow less valuable because it doesn't look like someone else's. But what we forget is that every person's life unfolds in a unique rhythm. What's meant for them was designed for their growth, their timing, their lessons, not yours. You cannot live your destiny by copying someone else's direction. When you compare, you rob yourself of gratitude, and without gratitude, even the greatest blessings will feel small. The truth is, you don't see the full story behind someone else's success. You see the highlight, not the hardship. You see the destination, not the detours. You see the smile, not the sleepless nights that built it. Comparison blinds you to your own progress because it makes you look outward instead of inward. It makes you forget how far you've come, how much you've survived, how deeply you've grown. And when your eyes are always on someone else's lane, you lose the energy to run your own race with passion and focus. You were never meant to be a copy. You were meant to be a creation. There's something inside you that no one else can offer. A unique gift, a voice, a light, a story. But it only shines when you stop dimming it with comparison. When you learn to honor your journey, you begin to see beauty even in the slow seasons. You stop rushing to keep up with others because you realize there's no competition in authenticity. The only person you need to be better than is the one you were yesterday. Every day you wake up and choose growth, kindness, and perseverance. That's progress. That's success, even if no one else claps for it. Letting go of comparison doesn't mean you stop being inspired by others. It means you learn from them without losing yourself. You can admire someone's chapter without resenting your own. You can cheer for others without doubting your path. You can find motivation in their journey while staying grounded in yours. That's maturity, that's confidence. Because when you truly know your worth, someone else's light doesn't threaten yours. It just reminds you that there's room for everyone to shine. Life isn't a race, it's a garden. Everyone blooms in their season, in their soil, under their light. You can't rush your own growth by staring at someone else's flowers. The same sun that warms them will reach you too, in time. You just have to keep nurturing your roots, watering your spirit, and trusting that your time will come. The danger of comparison is that it makes you abandon your process. You start forcing timelines, chasing validation, and making decisions that don't align with who you truly are. But when you stay true to your pace, you attract what's meant for you, not what looks good on someone else. Sometimes, comparison comes from fear that you're missing out, fear that you're not doing enough, fear that your dream will never happen. But remember this, what's meant for you cannot be taken by anyone else. Your destiny doesn't depend on someone else's success. Their light doesn't dim yours. It's proof that shining is possible. The moment you understand that, you stop competing and start creating. You stop envying and start evolving. You start turning comparison into inspiration and jealousy into motivation. There's incredible peace in staying in your own lane. When you do, life feels lighter. You stop trying to prove, and you start being. You stop seeking approval, and you start feeling aligned. You stop measuring your value by numbers, and you start defining it by meaning. You realize that you're not late, you're not less, you're on your own sacred timeline, and every step you take, even the small ones, are leading you exactly where you need to be. So whenever you feel yourself comparing, pause and remind yourself, I'm not behind, I'm being prepared. Every journey has its hidden lessons, every delay its purpose. The more you focus on becoming your authentic self, the less you care about competing. You begin to see that peace is better than popularity, purpose is better than applause, and alignment is better than attention. You start to bloom quietly, beautifully at your own pace, not to impress anyone, but to honor the person you're becoming. Letting go of comparison is one of the most freeing choices you'll ever make. Because when you stop measuring your worth by someone else's success, you finally discover what it feels like to live with contentment. You realize that the journey is not about being better than others. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. And that kind of peace, that kind of confidence, is something no one can ever take away.